For 1,500 years, we've been told a story of fire and fury, a story where a tide of howling barbarians smashed through the gates of Rome and burned the greatest civilization on Earth to the ground in a single night. But that story is a myth, a comforting lie we tell ourselves to feel safe in our own cities. By the time the Goths arrived in 410 AD, Rome wasn't a superpower. It was a ghost. It wasn't an army that killed the empire. It was a series of catastrophic internal choices, economic suicide, political rot, and a fatal arrogance that modern superpowers are still repeating today. If you want to find the killer of Rome, don't look at the borders, look at the money. For centuries, the Roman denarius was 95% pure silver. It was the dollar of the ancient world. But the emperors had a problem: massive monuments and endless wars they couldn't afford. So they did what every failing empire does. They diluted the silver. By 270 AD, the coin was basically worthless scrap. But the true tragedy wasn't just the math, it was who it killed. The Roman middle class, the shopkeepers, the small farmers, vanished overnight. As inflation soared, the wealthy elite, the 1% of the Senate, bought up all the land. They created massive latifundia, corporate farms that ran on slave labor. The average Roman citizen couldn't compete. They became homeless in their own empire, fleeing to the cities for free bread. Rome didn't just lose its money, it lost its soul, the independent citizen soldier. While the economy crumbled, nature struck. We often forget that Rome was the first globalized society, and globalization has a dark side: plagues. The Antonine Plague and the Plague of Cyprian wiped out nearly 25% of the population. Imagine your tax base, your workforce, and your army simply disappearing. In some cities, 5,000 people were dying every day. The empire wasn't just broke, it was physically dying. This labor shortage meant the government had to get desperate, and desperation leads to dangerous alliances. Leadership wasn't just failing, it was a death spiral. In one 50-year period, Rome had 26 different emperors. Only one died of natural causes. The rest, poisoned, stabbed, beheaded by the very men paid to protect them, the Praetorian Guard. The Guard became kingmakers. They even put the entire empire up for auction once, selling the throne to the highest bidder. When the head of the snake is constantly being cut off, the body cannot move. Rome stopped building for the future and started fighting to survive the next 24 hours. This brings us to the biggest myth: the barbarian invasion. Here is the truth: Rome didn't fight the barbarians, they hired them. Because Roman citizens no longer wanted to die for a coin that couldn't buy bread, the empire recruited Germanic tribes to guard the borders. They were called foederati. They gave them Roman weapons and Roman tactics, but they didn't give them Roman respect. They treated these soldiers like second-class mercenaries, often withholding their pay while the Roman elite lived in luxury. Rome literally trained the army that would destroy them. It wasn't an invasion from the outside, it was a strike from the inside. The men who sacked Rome in 410 AD didn't want to destroy the empire, they wanted the back pay they were owed. Rome didn't fall because it was weak, it fell because it became too complex to manage and too expensive to sustain. It was a giant that choked on its own weight. By the time the walls were breached, the eternal city was already a hollow shell. The fall of Rome wasn't an event, it was a process of ignoring the economy, betraying the worker, and failing to lead. The question isn't why it happened then. The question is, as we see the same patterns of inflation, wealth gap, and political instability today, are we watching it happen again? The shadows of history are long, but the truth is still there to be found. Don't forget to subscribe to Odyssey of History. The journey has just begun.